Motivate Me, built to build you. Download now.
The biggest advice I could give you right now, the biggest advice that anybody could give you.
You can't change what you won't confront. Think about that. You got to confront your past. You got to own your past, every mistake, every regret. You got to face your reality. Very important.
Am I going to reach my full potential? That is a scary thought, by the way. You know why? Because no one else matters in this world when it comes down to that. It's only you versus you. Nobody does. And so think about life as a video game. The whole idea of the video game is to do what? Is to move up another level, another level. And as the levels go higher, the game gets tougher, but you also become tougher, right? As you're leveling up. Can you imagine playing a video game with 20 levels and never getting past level 5? Can you imagine that? You know what's crazy? Most people play life like that. They never get past level 5.
There is no shame to admit that you're afraid, because there is no courage without fear. And when I made peace with that, it changes everything in my life. Because I made peace, and I said it to even in my opponents, like, yeah, I'm scared of you, but no matter what, I'm gonna freaking walk the walk on Saturday night, and there's nothing you can do. And the way you counter fear, whether you're a fighter, an entrepreneur, or whatever, it's with the preparation. The more well you prepare, more you will build up your confidence. And if you have confidence, remember, confidence is not the absence of fear. It's knowing that you have what you need in order to succeed.
Some of you who are listening to this are actually going to achieve big shit. And it's going to feel really lonely for a lot of that time. And it's because you're going to feel like the odd man out, and you're going to feel like what you're doing is contrary to what everyone else is doing. The people who are back there are going to, call you names behind your back. They're going to say you think you're better than them. They're going to say that you forgot where you came from. And you just develop a thicker skin because you realize that they say those things, and yet you still continue. And yet you keep living, and you keep getting closer to your goals. And then the thing is goal after goal starts falling down, and you get more and more evidence that this path is the path you should be on. And you'll feel more and more confident, to the point where in the future, you just have no issue with that. You'll have zero tolerance. If you want to be exceptional, and I will say this again, then it means you will be an exception. The majority of people will not behave the way you are. They will say, why are you acting so weird? Why are you behaving this way? This isn't normal. What's going on? They're gonna ask you these questions because they want you to get back in line. But back in line leads down the road, and you know where that road ends, and you know that's not where you want to be.
But life is hard, and that's the way it's always been. It's our lot. Now, if you don't want to accept that, that's up to you, okay? But it's our lot. It's our place. And it has been for the history of mankind.
Nobody's coming to fix our shit, bro. Nobody's coming. No, because nobody can fix it. And that's the biggest lie that we're told. We're told that other people can fix our problems. That's why they lie to you. That's why they censor you. That's why they make it feel like your voice is not important. If your voice wasn't important, why the fuck are they spending so much time and energy trying to quiet it? Your voice is all that matters. Your standard is all that matters. And so when you get to thinking that I don't matter, and it's just poor little me, and I'm insignificant, you have to realize that that is exactly what they want you to think. They want you to be helpless. They want you to be dependent. They want you to be weak. And it is a duty for all of us to be everything that they are terrified of us becoming.
The majority of people just don't do it. It's like a lot of people want it, but not a lot of people want to do it. Right? So just by taking that one little step, you separate yourself from the herd. Just keep grinding, man. Day in, day out. You know the deal. You're gonna suffer more in your mind than you ever will in reality.
Everyone knows with 100% certainty, 100% certainty that this will make you better in every aspect of your life, But it takes discipline, it takes will, and it takes commitment.
Whenever I get to a low point where I think, why do I even bother? I just remind myself, this is where most people stop, and this is why they don't win. Hard feels shitty. This is what hard feels like, and this is why most people can't do it, but you can.
We were born
to do something. You're here to do a work. The two most important moments in our lives, the day that we're born and the day that we realize why we were born. And if you don't know, if you want to live a life of misery, don't try and find out. But if you want to live a life that has meaning and value and a sense of direction, spend as much time as you possibly can to answer the question, why am I here?
If you're not being defined by a vision of the future, then you're left with the old memories of the past, and you will be predictable in your life. And if you wake up in the morning and you're not being defined by a vision in the future, as you see the same people and you go to the same places and you do the exact same thing at the exact same time, it's no longer that your personality is creating your personal reality. Now your personal reality is affecting or creating your personality. Your environment is really controlling how you think and feel unconsciously, because every person, everything, every place, every experience has a neurological network in your brain. Every experience that you have with every person produces an emotion. So now they need the outer world to feel something. So to change them is to be greater than your environment.
I certainly think everybody, should figure it out. You should figure it out for yourself, because time's going to go by either way, and you can live a life of happenstance, of reaction, or you can take some time to figure out how you want to spend your time, who you want to be, who you want to be at work, who you want to be as a parent, who you want to be as a spouse, and on and on and on. And you can try to be that person. You can try to live that life.
Because it's not something I'm used to yet, is making up stories to cling to the old way of life. This is a moment in time, everyone, please. This is the greatest gift. The greatest gift is this moment of pause where you get in touch with what you actually want. Because if you need skills to prepare yourself for the thing that you want, get them right now.
Always have a choice. Your mind talks to your body all the time. That's its job. And your job is to tell your mind what you want. I want perfect health. I don't do illness, I do wellness. Tell my mind I feel amazing. Tell my mind when I'm working out, my body loves this. My muscles love this, I can do a bit more.
Don't ask what is the meaning of life. Ask what is the meaning of my life. What am I supposed to do? What is this work? And I believe there's a work for us to do. That there's something that if we don't do it, that the world will be deprived. And finding out what that something is, that element, the element is when what you love to do and what you were born to do come together that will allow you to show up in life in a bigger way.
What I want you to do if you're in Vicky's situation is I want you to stop dreaming and I want you to just start doing small things.
If you don't have a goal, a transcendent goal, say something that's beyond you, then you don't have any positive emotion. And that's not good because you have plenty of negative emotion. And then that's the problem with fundamental claims of meaninglessness too in life. That it's the philosophical error that's made by nihilists. That suffering is a form of meaning. And you can try to argue yourself out of that with your nihilistic rationalizations, but that is not going to work. You need a transcendent goal in order to withstand the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune.
Is my dream really my dream? Or is it someone else's?
When you're willing to take control of your environment and put yourself through the stressors required for adaptation, you literally can become anything.
You live in a dominant culture that is designed to destroy your sense of self and your belief in yourself, and you have to learn ways in which you can begin to connect with this power that you have within yourself to handle where you are. The key is to be constantly in a perpetual process
of discovering the truth of who you are and fighting constantly to look for ways in which you can escape the inner conversation.
The most important step we'll ever take in life is our next one. A lot of us get our feet stuck in concrete. We get our feet stuck in concrete because we're afraid to make enemies. We're afraid to speak what's on our mind. We're afraid of being in that group of people. And when you walk away, we're afraid of what they might say behind your back. All that fear clouds your brain, clouds your thinking. One thing in life, you're gonna always have haters. Embrace them.
That there's always a short-term and a long-term impact to the decision. The short-term impact to making an expansive decision, a decision that's based in your heart and your soul, sometimes it's terrifying because sometimes it means moving, or it means changing a job, or changing a relationship, or having a difficult conversation, or starting something new. And those sorts of things are always uncomfortable. So brace for impact, put the force fields up, but make the decision anyway. Because the long-term impact of making a decision from your heart and soul, that is where the best life comes from. Because you're living for what's true for you, not what's safe in the moment.
You see, if I borrow the dream from you or someone else, I won't pay that price. But if it's my dream, I mean it's really my dream, then I'll pay that price.
Set your life on fire and seek those who fan your flames. Hey, Will, I want to be an actor, man. I want to be an actor just like you. Do people say stuff to me like that? I'm like, yeah, man, if you know you do it, give them an encouraging word. But I was just sitting in here thinking, and it dawned on me, 99% of people that say stuff like that are not willing to do what it takes to make their dreams come true. And that's just real. At the center of bringing any dream into fruition is self-discipline. Your mind is getting command of your mind to be able to choose actions that are in your own best interest. Every day, we are choosing it's not in our own best interest, right? So if the world is attacking you and the world wants to fight you and the world's trying to hold you down, so you will stop yourself from getting what you're dreaming. You cannot make a person happy. You can make a person smile, you can make a person feel good, you can make a person laugh, but whether or not a person is happy is deeply and totally and utterly out of your control.
Being realistic is the most commonly traveled road to mediocrity. There's a contribution to the world inside of me that I can't reach. There's a thing that I'm supposed to be doing. There's a person that I want to be that I always saw the reflection in my grandmother's eyes, you know, of what it is, but I can't reach that thing. There's so much more that I feel that I have to offer that I can't access in myself.
We tend to base our self-esteem on what other people think. And that's not really self-esteem. Self-esteem is supposed to be how we feel about ourselves. I was just saying how dangerous it is to allow other people to determine how you're going to feel about you.
There's no easy way around it. No matter how talented you are, your talent is going to fail you if you're not skilled. If you don't study, if you don't work really hard and dedicate yourself to being better every single day.
You wake up in the morning, your life means something to somebody other than you. To live in service, not to you, but to live in service to humanity.
The road to success is through commitment and through the strength to drive through that commitment when it gets hard. And it is going to get hard and you're going to want to quit sometimes, but it'll be colored by who you are and more who you want to be.
Self-discipline is the center of all material success. Cannot win the war against the world if you can't win the war against your own mind.
Because I was like, I want to be the biggest movie star in the world. I look at skill and talent separately. Like, Pete, you're born with talent. You know, it's like there's certain things that you just do naturally. You were gifted with a talent, but skill is acquired through discipline. You know, I've never seen myself as particularly talented. Where I excel is I'm willing to die in the process of acquiring skill. The concept of improving lives runs through the center of everything I do. And then I realized that the way to improve lives is to continually improve yourself. Good people have to get out of the bed every day and try to empty the ocean with a ladle. It is your commitment to your personal evolution, your personal growth for the purpose of assisting others. Life is hard, right? Like, yeah, you might get hurt. Your heart might get broken. You still gotta commit. Don't hesitate. Go, commit. You gotta commit. You know, you might get hurt, you might lose something, but it's like you can't experience the joy that is intended for you in life if you don't go. We actually have to cultivate a taste for peace. We're actually addicted to things that agitate and aggravate us. I'm going to be quiet, I'm going to be still, and I'm going to be alone. Prerequisite for spending time with any person is that they nourish and inspire you. They feed your flame. Put your phone down for just a second and look around. Look to the people around you. Are those people throwing logs on your fire, or are they pissing on it? The people that you spend time with are going to make or break your dreams. Everybody don't deserve to be around you. You got to defend your light with your life. Road to sustained happiness is through disciplining your behavior. But it is for damn sure your responsibility to figure out how to take that pain and how to overcome that and build a happy life for yourself. Fault and responsibility do not go together as socks. But they don't. When something is somebody's fault, we want them to suffer. We want them punished. We want them to pay. We want it to be their responsibility to fix it. But that's not how it works, especially when it's your heart. Your heart, your life, your happiness is your responsibility and your responsibility alone. Taking responsibility, accepting responsibility is not an admission of guilt. Taking responsibility is a recognition of the power that you seize when you stop blaming people. And I want to be the biggest movie star in the world. But I studied that and I worked out and I got my body crazy and I did, just got my head around doing everything I could do to be the biggest movie star in the world. And then I had a taste of that. And I realized that even though I had achieved all those things, on the inside, I was still that same insecure little boy. And what I realized is that the only sustainable mission throughout your whole existence is to improve lives. There weren't a lot of people I saw do things that I felt like I couldn't do, right? When I look at people and I see things, I don't feel like I can't. Whether or not I will is something different, but I don't ever feel like I can't. Like, taking responsibility is an act of emotional self-defense.
Taking responsibility is taking your power back. To be that guy that does what people say can't be done. I want to be the person that is the first person there and the last person to leave. Route to success is through commitment. And God placed the best things in life on the other side of terror. And to people who are watching, Confucius said one time, he who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right. I want you to keep in your heart, just know that you can.
You decided there's something you wanted so bad that you unleashed all your desire. You became obsessed with it. If it was a business or a car or a relationship or a transformation in your body, if there's something you once envisioned and now it's real, it's because you didn't just envision it, you brought so much emotion to it that now it's in your life. It was once a dream, it was once a goal, and now it's in your life.
Because I know how hard I've played every day. I know how much I'm willing to bleed for my goals. So this is not about emotional austerity. This is not about grinding yourself into the dirt. First of all, it's doing something you love so that as you're grinding and going that hard, it's something that you just want to do. On the other side, because you're going that hard, that you just don't have the guilt that most people have when you take time off.
Honor the struggle. Like so many people bemoan the hardship and they hate it. And I would say, anything you apply hate to quickly dies. You got a dream and you're hating the process, you apply hate to the process, the dream's gonna die. Be very careful of what you put hate or things to, and most people do that with hardship. And I've always seen hardships like, I'm gonna honor this process. I'm gonna honor that this is difficult because that is precisely what's needed.
But most people have strategies available, or they could get them, or you could create them. But the problem is you got a story. And your story is why it isn't working. And the story is, I've tried what? Everything. If you tried everything, you'd be fit. There's always a story. And what I tell people is, if you can just divorce the story of your limitation and marry the truth of your unlimited capacity, then the whole game changes.
Deep and lasting fulfillment. The thing that as a human makes us feel good. The thing that we're all secret deep down, no matter what you tell people you're chasing, the thing you're actually chasing is fulfillment. You want to feel good about who you are. You want to feel good about your contributions. You want to feel good about meaning and purpose in your life. So those are the things ultimately that people are chasing. They think that money is going to give that to them, and that they're wrong.
No limit people are human beings who take what they are and accept it, and don't tell themselves that somehow they're deficient because of anything about themselves. It's this idea of taking your life in your own hands and being the kind of person that you choose to be, and understanding that everything that comes your way is an opportunity, is a blessing. And it wasn't until I learned how to celebrate virtually everything that came my way that I was able to transcend it.
Does the decision that you're about to make expand you, expand your future, or expand the possibilities of your life? If the answer is yes, then the decision is yes, no matter how terrifying it is.
Have a mind that is open to everything and attached to nothing. One of the central principles of my life is that no one knows enough to be a pessimist about anything. And that each and every one of us, when we close our mind to what is possible for us or what is possible for humanity, closes off
the genius that resides and lives in each and every one of us.
Truth is, life will never be joyous unless you bring the joy. I really feel like that. So many people are waiting to have happiness, and they're waiting to, like, well, maybe when my boss loosens up, I'll loosen up, or, you know, when she's vulnerable, I'll be vulnerable, or it's like we're waiting for something. I'm like, it's not, your life will never be what it is going to be unless you bring that thing.
Shakespeare noted, there is nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. There's nothing good or bad, right? There's just stimulus, and then there's response. People think that it is objectively a certain way. So now, because they think it is objectively a certain way, they feel they are supposed to react based on those emotions that are getting kicked up in their mind. What I'm saying is absolutely not. Those emotions may not serve you. They're certainly not aimed at moving you towards your goal. Their job is to keep you alive, plain and simple. So that's not necessarily very helpful in a modern context. So if you want to always be moving towards your goal, you want to be optimized, you got to learn to get control of your emotions. You've got to learn to understand to tell yourself a narrative that isn't predicated on necessarily identifying what is objectively true, because I don't think that we experience the world that way. It's identifying what's going to work to get me to my goal.
And if you don't find something that you love what you do, don't bother. Because if you don't have a passion for what you do and you love, it gets old. Okay? Well, if you're not passionate about what you do in life, it gets old, and then it becomes work. And as soon as it becomes work, you're finished.
So this progress that we're creating in the search for ubiquity of happiness, for the utopia of this place that we will arrive at, this tropical place called happiness, is the biggest lie of it all. So the truth of our existence is that there is nothing truly on the outside that can ever fill us up.
A lot of you feel stuck because you're waiting for some kind of external force to either push you and pressure you to change and to be great and to be amazing, or you're waiting for somebody to give you permission, or then likely no one is coming. The only kind of force that will truly create change in your life is you, the internal kind of force. I hate to say it, but for those of you that feel really stuck and you keep thinking that somebody's got to pick me, it's ridiculous. This is external versus internal force.
He said, then there are those who reach a stage in which they realize the futility of this constant striving, struggling for the things that perish. Things which, after they are obtained, prove to be shadows. It is at this stage that some persons turn from this seeking for things in the outer realm to a seeking for them from God. Taking the focus in my life off of the things, the accomplishments, the acquisitions, reputation, ownership, which we begin to identify ourselves as.
Life becoming multiplanetary for the first time in the 4.5 billion year history of Earth. I cannot emphasize this enough. This is the thing that we need to do. We must make life sustainably multiplanetary. This is the goal we should strive for. We want to inspire kids to say that one day they want to wear that uniform. They want to wear that spacesuit. And I think what today is about is reigniting the dream of space and getting people fired up about the future from all walks of life, from all parts of the political spectrum in the United States and elsewhere. Should be really excited that this is a thing that is made by humans for humans. And it's just a great, exciting, inspiring day, and it's one of those things that makes you glad to wake up in the morning. I don't really think of these things as all that audacious. They seem like natural things to do. But not that I think everyone should be doing these things, but someone needs to do them. So if I see that somebody's not doing this, and maybe I could be helpful, then I try to do something in that regard. Well, first of all, I'd say I actually think I feel fear quite strongly. So it's not as though I just have the absence of fear. I feel it quite strongly. But there are just times when if something is important enough, you believe in it enough that you do it in spite of fear. History fundamentally bifurcates in one of two directions. Either we are a multi-planet species and out there exploring the stars, or we are a single planet species waiting around for some eventual extinction event. Constantly seek criticism. A well thought out critique of whatever you're doing is as valuable as gold. And you should seek that from everyone you can. You should take the approach that you're wrong. That you, the entrepreneur, are wrong. Your goal is to be less wrong. Well, this is the culmination of a dream. This is a dream come true. In fact, it feels surreal. If you'd asked me when starting SpaceX if this would happen, I'd be like 1%, 0.1% chance. I think this is true of anyone who's involved in close to the desire of something. You know all the ways they can fail, and that's like the sort of mental checklist that's scrolling through your mind. Is all the things that can break. I mean, there's thousands of things that can go wrong, and everything has to go right. Like, there would be reasons that you get up in the morning and you want to live. Like, why do you want to live? What's the point? What inspires you? What do you love about the future? And if we're not out there, if the future does not include being out there among the stars and being a multi-planet species, I find that it's incredibly depressing if that's not the future that we're going to have. Well, I think certainly you need to be very driven and have a high pain threshold. Yeah, I mean, it's really hard starting a company. I mean, you have to basically be prepared to work constantly, from when you wake up to when you go to sleep. You have to be willing to deal with a lot of difficult problems and thorny problems. You have to be willing to deal with an enormous amount of stress. And you just got to push yourself super, super hard. I mean, I seem to have a high innate drive, and that's been true even since I was a little kid. I really had a very strong drive. Did all sorts of risky things when I was a kid that why did I do those things? They're crazy. I care a lot about the truth of things and trying to understand the truth of things. I think that's important. If you're going to come up with some solution, then the truth is really, really important. Crazy things can come true. Because I didn't really think this would work. I look at the future from a standpoint of the probabilities. It's like a branching stream of probabilities, and there are actions that we can take that affect those probabilities, or that accelerate one thing or slow down another thing. Introduce something new to the probability stream. The value of beauty and inspiration is very much underrated. But there are a lot of negative things in the world. There's a lot of terrible things that are happening all over the world, all the time. There are lots of problems that need to get solved. But life cannot just be about solving one miserable problem after another. That can't be the only thing. There need to be things that inspire you, that make you glad to wake up in the morning and be part of humanity. Earth is the cradle of humanity, but you cannot stay in the cradle forever. It is time to go forth, become a star-faring civilization, be out there among the stars, expand the scope and scale of human consciousness. I find that incredibly exciting. That makes me glad to be alive. I hope you feel the same way. People take too many things they assume too many things to be true without sufficient basis in that belief. it's very important that people closely analyze what is supposed to be true. Try to say, let's analyze things from first principles, not by analogy or not by convention. I was at sort of a slight existential crisis because I was trying to figure out what does it all mean? Like, what's the purpose of things? And I came to the conclusion that if we can advance the knowledge of the world, if we can do things that expand the scope and scale of consciousness, then we're better able to ask the right questions and become more enlightened, and that's really the only way forward. And this was against the advice of pretty much everyone I talked to. But one friend made me sit down and watch a bunch of videos of rockets blowing up. Let me tell you, he wasn't far wrong. Tough going there in the beginning, because I'd never built anything physical. I mean, I built like little model rockets as a kid and that kind of thing, but I never had a company that built anything physical. So I had to figure out how to do all these things and bring together the right team of people. And so we did all that and then failed 3 times. I think also people tend to overweight risk on a personal level. Let's say you're young and you're just coming out of college or coming out of high school, whatever. What do you risk? You know, you're not going to starve. People should be less risk averse when there's not much at risk. I wouldn't say I'm fearless. In fact, I think I feel fear quite strongly. If what we're doing is, what I'm doing is, I think is important enough, then I just override the fear. Trying to build a company and have it succeed is like eating glass and staring into the abyss. Sort of quite exciting for the first several months starting a company, and then reality sets in. Things don't go as well as planned. Customers aren't signing up. The technology or the product isn't working as well as you thought, and then that can sometimes be compounded by a recession. It can be very, very painful for several years. So I think, frankly, starting a company requires people to have a high pain tolerance. For this, like, there are many more ways to fail than to succeed. Failure is not a big stigma. So it's like if you try hard and it doesn't work out, that's okay. Learn from that and do another company, and it's not a big deal. I think the thing that drives me is that I want to be able to think about the future and feel good about that. To be inspired by what is likely to happen, and to look forward to the next day. The difference between really believing in your ideals and sticking to them versus pursuing some unrealistic dream that can actually have merit. And that is a really difficult thing to tell you. Can you tell the difference between those two things? Very rigorous in your self-analysis. If you assume things are true by convention, which is actually what most people do, then it's difficult to gain insight into how things can be bettered. You want to make sure that the underlying premises are valid and applicable, and then in reaching a conclusion, that the conclusion you're reaching is necessarily driven by the underlying premises and the interconnection between those premises. When I was young, I didn't really know what I was going to do when I got older. I read a quote from Arthur C. Clarke, which said that a sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, and that's really true. If you go back, say 300 years, the things that we take for granted today you'd be burned at the stake for. I think it actually goes beyond that, because there are many things that we take for granted today that weren't even imagined in times past. They weren't even in the realm of magic.
You had that third failure in a row. Did you think, I need to pack this in?
Never.
Why not?
I don't ever give up. This is the first time in the 4.5 billion year history of Earth that it's been possible to extend life beyond Earth. Before this, it was not possible. How long will this window be open? It may be open for a long time, or it may be open for a short time. I think it would be wise to assume that it is open for a short time. Every waking hour, that's the thing I would say. Okay, if somebody else is working 50 hours and you're working 100, you'll get twice as much done in the course of a year. Now is the time to take risk. So I would encourage you to take risks now. Do something bold. You won't regret it.
Work like hell. I mean, you just have to put in, 80 to 100 hour weeks every week.
And I, like, one of the most difficult choices I ever faced in life was in 2008. Maybe $30 million left, or $30 or $40 million left in 2008. I had two choices. I could put it all into one company, and then the other company would definitely die, or split it between the two companies. But if I split it between the two companies, they both might die. And when you put your blood, sweat, and tears into creating something, and building something, it's like a child. Am I going to let one starve to death? I couldn't bring myself to do it, so I split the money between the two. Fortunately, thank goodness, they both came through.
When something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor.
We're doing these things that seem unlikely to succeed, and we've been fortunate, and at least thus far they have succeeded. You guys are the magicians of the 21st century. Don't let anything hold you back. Imagination is the limit, and go out there and create some magic.
There isn't a better way to live your life. There's no right way and wrong way. There is only the way that gives you more energy. There is only the way that gives you fulfillment. When you have those things, when you're fulfilled by what you're doing and it's giving you, the harder you pursue it, it's giving you more energy, you're on the right path. As the Greeks would say, segolodromo, which means you're on a good road. And that's what I want people to understand. But I don't think that it is a universal path. And so the only universal path is to do the things that give you fulfillment and energy. So if spending time with your friends gives you that, then you should be spending more time with your friends. If dating gives you that, then you should be dating. So you don't need to want to be the best in the world at something. You don't need to want to make a lot of money. You don't need to want to be an entrepreneur. They're literally just stand-ins. They're proxies for fulfillment and energy creation. That's it. So those are the punchlines of what's the meaning of life and all of that stuff. It is to do something that makes you feel a deep sense of well-being, which I'll call fulfillment, and something that gives you energy, where you're literally excited to attack the day.
I start with identities because I think that's the root of all our challenges, is starting at the root, not starting at the symptoms or the superficial or the surface level, but let's go to the root. If you're playing a role, if you're wearing a mask, if you're dressed in clothes that are not yours, then you end up living a life that's not yours. Because guess what? When you fake being someone for so long, you think it's your reality. And that's what happens to all of us. We play a role at work, we play a role at home, we play a role with our family, we play a role with our friends, and then we think that role is us. And we lose ourselves. And to me, that is the core reason why we're chasing things that are not important to us.
A lot of you that are running from things instead of running to things. And that's a huge difference, running from something versus running to something. And so I want you to think about that for a minute, because you don't have to move across country to change your life. And you don't have to do something drastic to experience drastic positive change. And here's the thing about running away from your problems, running away from your past. Have you ever noticed that when you run away, it tends to follow you?
All we have, which everybody talks about, is this moment, this precious second right now. So the more I could be here right now, the more I'm living, the life that I want to live. Too much about the future, too much about the past. I can use those as something to, hope for in the future, as a guiding post from the past. But right now is the moment that every one of us has.
I
never really aspired to happy because happy is usually determined by external factors. I go for the joy. Because when you have joy at home, when you have joy inside, it don't matter much what's going on out here. You understand? You got your joy. And you can come home to your joy no matter what is going on in the world. Far too many of us have our happiness, our peace, our joy, our value, our worth hooked into some external stimulation. And then we wonder why we're stressed out and overweight and can't sleep.
You have those scars in your brain from life, but what we don't do is we try to hide those scars. We don't want to go back and revisit it. So I started realizing that my life was causing a whole bunch of scarring on my brain. And I had to go back and really break open that scar and let it bleed. And that was a very painful journey for me to go back.
Who are you letting ruin your dreams? What scorecard are you judging yourself by? Screw that. This is your time. This is your opportunity. This new world that we live in with access like you listening to me right now, access to so much knowledge. We have access to information. This is your time. There's no better time. There's no different time. This is your time. The only way it'll happen is if you change the story in your head. If you say, change the scorecard, change your desires, find your passion. Don't, when people tell you stop dreaming, tell them, I'm sorry you gave up on yours. I'm not quite there yet. That's the response you need to share.
Every day I'm winning. Every day I'm winning the other voice in my head. So I'm at peace with myself. The things I do for fun are like me bettering myself. Yeah. But I also love accomplishing and overcoming myself every day. Because every day is a battle. Every day is a battle because your mind wants to choose the path of least resistance. Every day. But you don't become better by ever doing that. You become normal. And I don't want to be normal. So it may not be a life for everybody, but I find a lot of peace in not being normal in my life.
Dreams without goals are just dreams, and they ultimately fuel disappointment. Goals on the road to achievement cannot be achieved without discipline and consistency.
As Shakespeare noted, there's nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. There's nothing good or bad, right? There's just stimulus and then there's response. But people think that it is objectively a certain way. So now because they think it is objectively a certain way, they feel they are supposed to react based on those emotions that are getting kicked up in their mind. If you want to always be moving towards your goal, you want to be optimized, you got to learn to get control of your emotions. You've got to learn to understand to tell yourself a narrative that isn't predicated on necessarily identifying what is objectively true, because I don't think that we experience the world that way. It's identifying what's going to work to get me to my goal.
Your joy, your sadness, your happiness, your misery is determined by something or somebody around you. The chances of you being joyful in your life is remote. Is it true that human experience joy or misery, agony or ecstasy, madness or sanity, everything is created from inside? At least if you're a manager, if you're going to be a manager, at least what is happening from within you must happen your way. Because essentially management means having situations the way we want it. Yes? Management means what? Having situations the way we want it. Well, if the world is not happening your way, at least this one must be happening your way, otherwise what kind of management is this?
If we have a setback or a failure in life, which is inevitable, do we analyze ourselves and see what we did wrong? Or do we immediately outward and blame other people?
Nobody knows but you. You can't get advice on what you should do with your life, right? Nobody knows what you are. It's like, as much as you want people to agree and you want the people around you to be supporting your dreams and all, it's not gonna be like that all the time. You gotta do it alone.
Your number one move is you identifying who you want to be. Who do you want to be? If you and I can figure out who we want to be, and it's as transparent and as clear as possible, I don't have to compare myself against your success.
I think that people have to learn to bring the joy. And that says, you don't have joy, just like I don't think people have happiness. I don't think people have sadness either. I think that we are generating the emotions and the feelings that we experience in life. And as soon as we own that responsibility, life gets really fun.
Following your dreams is a lonely, solitary, scary, dangerous pursuit. You can't wait for somebody to think you can do it. You don't believe, nobody else is gonna believe. People come along because your belief is so insane.
Let somebody else tell you what you cannot do. But in the process of that, prepare for success. In other words, are you willing to put time in your next move? And a lot of people say things like, I'm not a morning person. I don't really know what that means. I really don't. I have 24 hours in a day. I try to take advantage of every hour. And I have certain rules that I initially tell people on a regular basis. If you want to start living a success rate, start locking into a consistent time that you should get up every day.
If you want to compete in the top 1% of 1% of 1% of 1%, the prices are bigger prices. There isn't a formula for it. You just have to figure out a way on how to do it.
Is that we have to determine the feeling that you're after and live into that feeling, not hope it lands on us. And that's when someone starts getting to be a master in life.
It is a lonely, scary, dangerous pursuit, and you got to be willing to risk everything to become that seed of what you believe is in there.
But people who are running toward their dreams, life has a special kind of meaning. And here's what I will share with you, that in the process of working on your dreams, you are going to incur a lot of disappointment, a lot of failure, a lot of pain, a lot of setbacks, a lot of defeats.
If you're about to make a change in your life and you feel uncomfortable, that's the best scare of anything. Because for the first time in your life, you're making a decision that's going to be best for you. Make a choice, right? You just decide what it's going to be, who you're going to be, how you're going to do it. Just decide.
We're watching the same world, the same reality, but we experience it differently. Everybody you meet is experiencing their world differently than you are. So you have an attitude that colors what you see. And some people have an attitude that tends towards the negative. And I describe a negative attitude as something that's closed. So you're not open to new experience. You're trying to close that lens. You have certain beliefs, certain ideas about life, and you're not willing to change them, right? Because that gives you a sense of security.
There is a moment in which you are serving people, or you're trying to achieve your goal or your dream, in which now it is not a preference, it's a must. It becomes necessary for us to excel in this. Like, it's not a hope anymore. It's not, I should do it. It becomes so necessary that it connects with our identity, that we feel it is necessary for me to deliver with excellence here because that is who I am. It's necessary for me to deliver with excellence here because somebody needs me to do well. It's necessary for me to do well here because this topic, this thing I'm doing, I'm passionate about this, I care about this, I want to master this. I'm obsessed.
If I'm aligned with my values and principles and my goals and dreams, and those two are aligned, I'm the most fulfilled, happiest person alive. It's when you're unaligned, when you are miserable. It's courage, wisdom, tolerance, understanding. So courage, because If you're ever gonna be doing something big, you're gonna face enemies that you are gonna be afraid, you're gonna have to have courage. Once you have your values and principles and they're aligned with the way you live, you're good. If you don't, panic, anxiety, depression, could create misery. My biggest thing when it comes down to greatness is alignment. Who do you want to be? Once you're aligned with who you want to be and the life you want to live, you start enjoying this thing.
You are different. You have something very unique about you. That uniqueness exists for a purpose. If you follow that, if you use your uniqueness in some way, you will create something pretty great.
When you're passionate, everybody cheers you on. They're stoked for you. When you're obsessed, they're like, why you gotta be so crazy? Why can't you be satisfied? Why do you always gotta get things so perfect? Why do you spend so much time? When you're obsessed, people think you're nuts. So it's different. And it's like, I always tell people, if no one thinks you're crazy, you're not yet operating to the outer limits of the detersion.
And shoot for perfection is all good. You don't shoot for average, because you're not gonna hit all the time. If you shoot for perfection and you hit good or great, you're winning. Don't ever shoot for average. I just try to get people to understand, don't be average. Please don't put a limit on what you can do when you haven't even tried to do what you're capable of doing.
Biggest key to success, almost anybody I see that takes it to a whole different level, the highest levels, the difference between them and other people is their sequencing. If my order of steps I take to go here isn't as efficient as yours because your sequencing is better, you're gonna get there faster than I am, and I may never even get there.
The journey to greatness begins the moment that our deep desires for comfort and ease are overpowered by our desires to connect in truth.
Who you are, your uniqueness is your source of power. The further you deviate from that uniqueness, the weaker you will become. So the game in life is to know who you are, to gather skills and train yourself and be disciplined. Take all the things that you've learned and create something unique.
If you push people and ask them what they want, they're going to tell you that they want to be happy. But nobody really talks that next step, which is what is the fundamental building block to happiness? Like, what is that keystone piece? The one without which everything falls apart. And I really believe, and I believe this through experience myself and seeing other people, that that keystone brick to happiness is progress.
In our evolutionary psychology, we have this fear, I'll die if you don't like me. And we try to get over it by buying stuff, or trying to impress people. And what you should do is impress upon your mind, look, I know you think I'm going to die from rejection. I'm not. Actually, it's going to make me stronger. And if you can dialogue with yourself and go, I feel a bit sad, it's not going to kill me, then it does make you stronger.
Take a bit of a look at yourself and think about what's not so good that you could improve, that you should improve by your own standards, and that you would improve. There's things you could do to improve, and you know what they are. And there's small steps that you could take, that you might take, that would put you in that direction. And then the question is, are you big enough to take those small steps? You know, an answer to that is, yeah, you are. Most people have things they avoid, you know, and they're afraid of. So I would say to some degree, it's the lot of everyone.
Your life is a physical manifestation of the conversation going on in your head. Your life is a physical manifestation of the conversation going on in your head. So if you said nothing but thought everything, your life is going to show up to make your thoughts true. So you have one job. You have one job in your life for you, to make what you think about life true, so that you're not wrong. You don't want to walk around wrong, 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 wrong. You want to be right about the life you see. So you're going to work hard to produce the life that you talk about in your mind.
Our standards are a reflection of the actions that we take or fail to take. And a lot of times the actions that we take that, move our life forward are a result of us feeling good enough to do that. We're not always going to feel great, but honestly, like, in order to get yourself up, get yourself moving, like, you're not just going to get up and feel good, man. You have to take action. It's a process through your physical fitness, through your mental fitness, through your contribution.
If you want to be successful, and it really doesn't matter how you define success, it really doesn't matter what the specific manifestations of success are for you. If you want to be successful, it all starts with a growth mindset. Right now, in this moment, if you do one thing, it will change every aspect of the rest of your life. And that is to adopt a growth mindset.
Doesn't matter how talented you are, if you don't have self-belief, you're not going to get anywhere. If you have extraordinary self-belief, very little talent, you can get everywhere. But if you have both, if you have talent and belief, it will actually make you unstoppable.
They say if at first you fail, then try again. Persistence is helpful because it enables you to run many experiments. And you need to know that the baseline is failure. You know, it's important because otherwise you'll blame that on yourself.
When you speak your future into the world. Whatever falls off your tongue, when you say I am, unconscious mind says, and you are so. Whatever comes on the other side of that.
That all of us in life have things we want. We don't get what we want. We get what we have to have. Remember I said earlier, we all get what we tolerate in ourselves and other people. But when you're no longer willing to tolerate something, that's when your life changes.
And we can thrive under the difficult conditions that make up our lives, and we can resist the malevolence that entices us. That's within our power.
Asking the right questions is so fundamental and so powerful. I encourage you guys all to really think about the questions that you ask yourself, because it will determine everything about your life. Your life is determined by the quality of your questions.
Everyone's good at something. You know, you're not meant to be good at everything. It's no good being a jack of all trades and a master of none. So be really good at what you're good at, and don't worry about what you're not good at, because we're not all supposed to be good at the same thing.
And then you challenge yourself. It's like, well, could I do this? That would be better. And you find out, and then you think, well, is there something slightly larger and more challenging that I could do that would be better? And you try it and you find out. And as you try it and you find out, generally you get better at it, and you can take on larger and larger challenges.
You get what you focus on. You get what you focus on. If you focus on fear, dread, incompetence, possible danger, possible failure, then that's where your mind is. Your mind is totally consumed by those thoughts. But if, on the other hand, you think about possibility, what can be, how good you can get, the amazing things that could happen, then that's what your mind is consumed by.
The difference in people is their standards, period. The difference in people is their standards, period. And what do I mean by standards? Everyone in the world has a list of things they think they should do. I should work out, I should work harder, and then you know what? People don't do their shoulds and they get mad at themselves. What changes people is when your should becomes a must.